Let's talk a little bit about the money, because I gathered when Parliament was asked for an allocation, it didn't give any extra money for Indigenous theatre. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Why?
I think it was partially in the way it was asked for. I think that the strategy that was taken, it was an incremental ask in a budget that deals with trillions of dollars. It was this tiny little incremental ask within a crown corporation. I think when not the politicians, because I think the politicians were on side. I met 6 cabinet ministers who all shook my hand and told me how important it was we got our money. I think when it came down to it, the bureaucrats who make those decisions didn't prioritize it at all, because it was like such a tiny incremental ask within such a massive budget. It's like when you write a grant to the Canada Council and say the grant is worth $25,000. You can ask for $25,000, but you go, I will probably only get $1,500, so I'll ask for $1,500. Well, your likelihood of getting $1,500 from a Canada Council grant is less than if you ask for the 25, because they would say, well, you can find that money. You don't need $1,500 from us to do your project. If that's all you need, you can find that yourself. And I think that's on a larger scale the same thing that happened here. I think that they asked for too small of an amount. I think they should have asked for what the building needs. The building hasn't had an increase. The NAC hasn't had an increase since the early 2000s. And that's going, like, it's the same amount, the same allotment of money every year, despite inflation. Hasn't increased with inflation. It's the same amount of money that they've had since 2003, I think was the last time they had.
So where did that put you as an Indigenous creator who was given an Indigenous theatre and then told, well, guess what?
Well, it put me in a very painful place.
Did you get mad?
I was very upset, yeah. I mean, I wrote a letter, right, to the Heritage Minister.
And
he got a lot of hate mail for about a year and a half.
Who was the minister?
Rodriguez.
Oh.
And he was one of those guys too who shook my hand and said it was very important that I get my money. So I was like, so I basically wrote a letter. I literally just posted it on my Facebook page, and it got way more response than I mean, it was a really great response from my perspective, because what I wanted the folks at government to know was that this wasn't okay. That this was this initiative by the NAC is the embodiment of all their talking points around reconciliation, around the importance of Indigenous culture, languages, stories. And yet they weren't, in this one tiny way, which is so significant for the artistic community, they were ignorant on. They just ignored it, they let it,
So did that make an impression? Did that make amends?
Well, I will say this, that every time I would go to an event where there would be PCH folks, somebody would sidle up to me and say, hello, Mr. Loring, we know that you're very disappointed and we're very sorry. So for about a year and a half, people would say that, and I don't think Rodriguez likes me very much.